Welcome back to the Sticky Art channel. If you're new here, my name is Justin, and in this video, I'm doing a follow-up to my honest review of the Paperlike for the iPad Pro that I did back in 2020. It was a really popular video on my channel, and I had a lot of questions and comments on there that I want to address. One of the main things that I wanted to go over is just how the Paperlike has held up, as well as if it has worn down the Apple Pen tip over the last 8 months that I've been using Paperlike. But I also wanted to try out another Paperlike film or similar product to the Paperlike because there were a lot of people commenting in the comment section saying that there are a lot of products out there that are a fraction of the price that do the exact same thing as the Paperlike. So I decided to buy one of the most popular alternatives to the Paperlike and do a side-by-side comparison. I'm going to get to all of that in this video. I will put timestamps in the video description below. With that being said, let's get into it. So this is the Paperlike version 2 for the 2020 iPad Pro 12.9-inch screen. I've had this on my iPad for about 8 months, and just a little backstory, I am an artist. I use this mainly for art, and I use it for about 6 to 8 hours every single day on a consistent basis, so it has gotten a lot of use. And as far as the visual condition of the screen, it has a lot of scratches on it, and this was something that I noticed within the first use, and especially in the first 30 days, that it got a lot of these scratches. The look of it has not gotten much worse since I did my last review, and a lot of that is due to the fact that I have adjusted the pressure curve on the Apple Pencil settings. I highly recommend doing this if you install a matte screen protector, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But as far as what I'm doing here now, I just went over the screen and I am testing all of the different areas to see if there's any areas that are less or more paper-like, or if they've worn down. And I really have not seen any or noticed any difference in the actual consistency of the screen. A lot of it for me was just the visual that it does have a lot of those scratches on it, which I don't think you can completely avoid with the Paperlike because it is a softer screen. On the plus side, the Paperlike version 2 is less likely to do damage to the Apple Pen tip, and it doesn't wear it down nearly as fast as the version 1 or a lot of other matte screen protectors that are available. So to change the pressure settings on the Apple Pen or Apple Pen 2, all you're going to do is go into your wrench settings on Procreate if you're using Procreate, then Preferences, and then click into Edit Pressure Curve. And then you can move the bar up and down. The higher up, the less pressure you'll have to actually use, and then the lower you go below the curve, it's going to make it so you have to press a little bit harder. But I suggest adjusting it a little bit higher than the normal curve. If you do it below, you'll notice that it is really hard to get any real pressure or any of the heavier settings on there. And if you go too high, all you're going to get is really dark and like you're using a lot of pressure even when you use very little. I recommend fine-tuning this even if you don't have a Paperlike or matte screen protector, just because it reduces a lot of the wear and tear, and it also has a really nice feel once you fine-tune it and get it to where you like. These are the official replacement tips or nibs for the Apple Pencil. I bought these from Apple, and they come in a 4-pack for $20 US. So they're definitely not cheap. And the safety and care for these, all you really need to do is make sure you don't swallow them. And the other thing is to also keep them clean. That makes a huge difference in their performance. And I have a how to super clean your Paperlike screen protector or matte screen protector, as well as the nibs video if you want to check that out. So I actually bought these not because I'm in need of replacing the one that came with my Apple Pencil as of yet, which is actually really good considering I've been using it for 8 months. But I did want to compare it and just see how much of it has worn. So we'll check that out right now. And just from looking at it right away, I can tell that the tip has some wear on it. It has a little bit more of like a hard edge rather than a round curve. And I think that's just from the angle that I use it. And I'm sure that depending on the angle that you use it, how hard you press and all that will definitely vary how fast these wear. That being said, I think Paperlike version 2 has definitely improved a lot over the first version, where a lot of artists were experiencing the pencil nibs wearing down in 2 to 3 months. And I'll put it back on the Apple Pencil so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see it almost has like a little point to it, and on one side it has worn more than the other side. So I'm putting the fresh nib or tip back in, and to take these in and out, it's just the same as unscrewing them lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So my final verdict on the Paperlike version 2, despite its main downfall of easily getting the small scratches, however, those do not really impact the use of it as long as you're using it indoors in lower light settings. You don't really see the scratches while the screen is on. And the other things considered with how long it has lasted and it has not done damage to the Apple Pencil tip, I think Paperlike has done a great job on this. There are definitely still some things to improve, But overall, personally, I've really enjoyed using the Paperlike, and I would feel comfortable recommending it to a friend or another artist that is looking for more control and feedback from the Apple Pencil and iPad. With the review of the Paperlike wrapped up, I did want to get back to some of the comments from my previous first initial review video. A lot of people were stating that there are a lot of cheaper options out there to do exactly what the Paperlike does at a fraction of the cost. So I went on Amazon and I found one of the most popular options for around $11. So let's check it out. This is the inexpensive version that I found on Amazon. It's from Zoegga Paperlike Screen Protector. And it has all these great features: anti-reflex, no fingerprint, hard surface, use many times, smooth touch, and paper-like. I should say paper-like. On the back here, the installation tips looks pretty similar to the Paperlike. We've got some installation little stickers and everything to keep in place. So we got Paperlike functionality, anti-glare feature, easy cleaning, easy installation, compression. Application painters, artists, designers, authors, any people request a higher experience with Apple Pencil. Note, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and we will resolve your issues within 7 times 24 hours. Or 7/24/7, 7/24. And then we got leaf-free, Pro HS, the recycle logo, and a trash logo as well. I'm not sure what all this means, but anyways, let's get into installing this and let's see how it compares to the Paperlike. So the Zoegga Paper-Like comes with 2 screen protectors as well as 2 packs, everything you need to install them, as well as a squeegee card to get out the air bubbles if there are any after you install the screen protector. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the iPad to help reduce static electricity and get rid of dust particles being attracted. And I'm going to remove the Paperlike version 2, or at least half of it. I wanted to do a kind of side-by-side comparison. I'm going to just cut this in half. I do plan on keeping this on here for at least a month while I use the other one. And my other idea too was if there's another similar product that anyone wants me to try out that thinks is a better product that maybe other people need to know about, let me know that in the comments below. But I went ahead and cut the Zoegga Paperlike almost down the middle, a little bit less. And I'm just going to do it on one edge. Now that I have the piece that I'm going to install, I'm going to go and wipe everything down with the microfiber first, just to get off any loose dust particles. And then I'm going over everything with an alcohol wipe that is provided. This should get off all the oil, residue, or anything left behind. I'm going to come back with a clean side of the microfiber and polish everything out. Make sure that there are no streaks or residue or anything on the screen. And I went ahead and placed the Zoegga Paperlike without removing any of the sides. First, I'm going to actually place it, find it where it needs to go. And one thing that I did notice is that the Zoegga Paperlike is a lot closer cut than the Paperlike from Paperlike. What I mean by that is on the edges, there's a little gap on the Paperlike, which is kind of nice for when you install it. You have a little bit more wiggle room. This one from Zoegga, though, you do have to be really, really careful and get really close on there. But as long as you place it right, you should be good. However, if you do use a case that you take off and on, if you do go over on any side or if you're a little bit off, you're more likely that it will peel off the screen protector when you're taking it off and on. I know that's a common problem other people have had. So this one definitely kind of has that, might have that problem if you are using a case. Keep that in mind. Go ahead and peel off the first film. Make sure that there are no particles of dust and just drop it down. And it should adhere for the most part for itself. You can press the bubbles outwards towards the edges. I'm just using the squeegee card to do that. If you do have any bubbles that are really stubborn, you might have a piece of dust that is stuck underneath. There's not really a way to fully get the air bubbles out if you do have that, but that is why it is super important. If you want to watch my installation video, I have some other tips in there, but the biggest thing is to clean off everything and to be in an environment that doesn't have a lot of dust. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the final protective film. Overall, the install of the Zoegga was almost identical to the Paperlike version 2. The real main difference was just the fitment of the actual screen protector. The Zoegga being almost edge to edge on almost all the sides makes it so you do have to be a little bit more exact when placing it, but other than that, went down really easily, and I was able to install it with 0 bubbles. So for the first test, I wanted to see if the Zoegga scratched as easily as the Paperlike did on the first use. So I went ahead and started off with low pressure and worked my way up all the way up to the most pressure that I would normally use. And at first it looked like it was scratching the screen, but upon closer inspection, it was actually just some kind of a residue that was being left on the screen from where I wrote, especially with the higher pressure, and I was able to actually just wipe it off with a microfiber towel. This could be a sign that the Zoegga screen protector is wearing down itself or the Apple Pen tip, but it's a little too early to know, so I'm going to do an update in about 30 days once I know for sure. But in the category of scratch resistance, the Zoegga does a lot better than the official Paperlike. So to test out color and image distortion, I tried a bunch of different colors. It was kind of hard to see on the camera, but both of the screen protectors had a level of distortion. Paperlike seemed to be a little bit less, while the Zoegga had a little bit more and also seemed a little bit grainier. In the category of anti-reflection, the Zoegga does this very minimally. Next to it, you can see the glass is almost like a mirror image, and the Paperlike out of all three does this the best. The next category that I wanted to test out, which is the most important, is how does the Apple Pencil feel and work with the screen protectors? The Paperlike has a pretty similar feeling to writing on paper, however, it is a less resistance than actual paper. The Zoegga screen protector has noticeably more resistance, and it has more of a grainy feel to it, almost like real paper. Using the same amount of pressure, I found that the Zoegga gave a lot lighter results. This is probably due to the fact that it's a little bit thicker film and can probably be remedied just by calibrating the pressure curve once you install your specific screen protector. As far as accuracy and precision, both of these screen protectors seem to do a pretty good job. Definitely an improvement over the glass, and it's a lot easier to get lines where you want them with the added resistance. For the overall feel, both of these products do an excellent job in capturing the paper-likeness feel as well as sound. However, it really comes down to personal preference, figuring out which one's best for you. The Zoegga is going to be a little bit more added resistance, a little rougher kind of grainy feel. On the other side, the Paperlike has a more uniform resistance, definitely a lot more than the glass, but not as much as actual paper. And for my personal preference, I like the Paperlike just because I do a lot of digital painting on here, and it's not just kind of pencil work or note-taking. While the overall performance with the Apple Pencil was very similar, I found that using my finger to paint and draw was a different story. On the Paperlike, it has a smooth kind of satiny feel, and on the other hand, the Zoegga has a very different feel. The best way I could describe it is a very, very smooth sandpaper or a wet, dry sandpaper. With that in mind, if you are going to be using your iPad for other things than just drawing, things where you've got your fingers on the screen a lot like gaming, the Zoegga might not be the best choice for you just because the feeling of it is just not that satisfying. On the other hand too, I noticed that the responsiveness to fingers on the screen is not as responsive on the Zoegga as it is on the Paperlike or the bare screen. One of the biggest downfalls to the iPad's beautiful glass screen is fingerprints, and both of these matte screen protectors claim to help out with this problem. After putting my fingers everywhere on the screen, I think both of them do a good job of cutting down on fingerprints. However, the Zoegga was able to see a little bit more of the residue or finger oil. The last thing I wanted to compare was how the screen protectors impacted video viewing quality in different lighting settings. In normal indoor lighting with some lights on, I noticed both of the screen protectors did have some decrease in the quality, and they also had a little bit less saturation than the bare glass. However, the Paperlike was less noticeable, the Zoegga was a little bit more, and there was also more of a graininess to the video on the Zoegga side than on the Paperlike or the glass. While there is some slight color and image distortion on both of the screen protectors, the Paperlike actually does the best in normal lighting just because it has the added anti-glare or reflection. In low light settings, the glass definitely performs the best, followed by the Paperlike with a slight distortion, and then the Zoegga has a little bit more distortion and kind of grain to it. One thing to keep in mind, viewing distance plays a big role in if you can see the graininess or not. If you're 1 or 2 feet away from the screen, you'll definitely be able to notice it. If you're 3 or 4 feet away, it is not that noticeable. In outdoor but partial shade, none of them really do that well. They all have some reflection or any issues. The Paperlike seems to show the scratches a lot more outside. That being said, while it's not ideal, you can use any of the screen protectors as well as the glass in these conditions. However, outdoor in direct sunlight, the glass as well as both screen protectors perform terribly. The image gets too washed out, and also the reflection is just too much to really be able to work on the iPad. That about wraps up the comparison review for the Zoegga versus the Paperlike screen protector for the iPad. Overall, both products do a solid job of doing what they set out to do, which is feeling paper-like. That being said, they're definitely not identical. There are some differences and pros and cons to each of them that I point out in this video. I think it's most important to take in your own needs to consider when deciding on which one to purchase. And for me personally, I feel like if you are planning on using it for the long term, the Paperlike is a surefire. It's a really good way to go. However, if you're more just trying it out and you're not really sure if you even want one or not, going with a cheaper option is a much better way to go. At least you can see if you like it. And if you do find out that it wears out your Apple Pencil nib rather fast, like say in a month or so, you might want to go with another option just so you're not having to buy those Apple Pencil tips so often, because those can definitely add up. With all that being said, I hope this video has been helpful. If you do have any other questions or comments, let me know that in the comments below. Also, if you have any of your own experience with other screen protectors or with these and you want to share that as well, let me know that in the comments as well. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, as well as share and subscribe and turn on notifications for when I post my newest videos. And until next time, peace.